Hi everyone, welcome back to Cheese and Turtles. My name's Imogen. In today's video, I am talking about San Francisco. This is the ultimate SF review. Did I love it and do I want to move there? So in 2024, I achieved a long-term ambition to visit the US and specifically San Francisco. I did the trip partly for fun and partly to find out what the city is like because I kind of want to move there for a while. Maybe in my late 20s or my 30s. I spent 2 weeks there because I wanted to find out if the city was like I'd thought it was, and if I really wanted to move there, or if it was just kind of like an idealized fantasy that I had. So here are my impressions. If you're not already subscribed, make sure to do that, give this video a thumbs up, follow me on Instagram, and let's get started. And as always, I'm gonna start with the downsides because I like to end the video on a positive note. So here were the cons, okay? And the first one is that it's super expensive. Like, fuck me. I know Cambridge is kind of expensive, but I will never complain again. To be fair, I knew this before I visited. I knew that San Francisco was going to be expensive. I did remarkably well as a budget traveler to like keep my spending under control, but it is so expensive. Like, everything is expensive, like accommodation, transport, groceries, like, it is, obviously you can live relatively cheaply, you can, but when I say relatively cheaply, I mean you're still gonna have to like spend a little bit. It's so expensive, and if you want like a really nice place, you will shell out for that. Partly because space is so limited, because obviously the city is only like 49 square miles. It's super expensive. It is so expensive. Like, I mean, it's one of the most expensive cities for a reason. It just is. Another con is that the Tenderloin area can be kind of scary. So this is like a district which is kind of well known for its like homelessness, and there are some drug issues as well. Again, I knew this before I visited and I just avoided it for the most part. The times when I went through the Tenderloin were when I visited Union Square and when I went on the, I think I was like going on the cable cars, I can't remember. I went to Union Square and I went to the San Francisco Public Library, that's it. So I went to the Tenderloin area and it was fine. It was a bit scary. I wouldn't want to live there. Another con, and I didn't know this before I visited, like another downside is that it's so windy, okay? I did not know this, and I probably should have known this because I studied geography at university and I'm aware that it's on the bay, so I should have known that it was windy, and I'm aware that like the fog kind of rolls in overnight and then it clears away, but I just assumed that it evaporated because it's really sunny, but no, the fog gets blown away by the wind. I mean, I'm sure some of it evaporates because it is sunny, but like, I should have figured this out, but I didn't. And then as soon as I got off the plane, I was like, oh my God, why is it so windy? It must be a windy day. I'll just wait till, I'll just wait till tomorrow. Maybe it won't be windy tomorrow. Joke's on me. It was calm one day out of the 2 weeks I was there. It's so windy. That was a big downside for me. I don't know. It just felt like I was being blown about all the time and it kind of pissed me off. Another downside, again, I knew this before I visited, healthcare. Although I didn't have any interactions with the healthcare system, thank God, I did have very good health insurance. I made sure of that before I went. Fortunately, I didn't get sick. I would really like miss the NHS, I think, if I were to move. I really appreciate being able to have free healthcare. And obviously, yeah, I know it's paid for by my taxes, but it's free at the point of delivery. That saved my ass so many times. As someone who has like I have multiple mental health conditions and I have like anxiety about health problems, so I like to get checked out when I have symptoms. So healthcare would be free healthcare is something I would definitely miss. Another thing is employment. So if I moved there, I'd be working under US employment law and I would definitely have less time off than I would in the UK, which is a downside. I like my time off. Like, Americans, they get no time off. I don't know. I mean, this is not a San Francisco specific problem. This is more of an American specific problem. But yeah, the lack of time off would be a downside. Okay, let's talk about the pros. That's enough doom and gloom. Let's talk about the pros. The hills were a lot to cope with in terms of walking, but honestly, there are better ways to get around, and I mostly walked for fun, and the views from the top were marvellous. Like, the hiking up Twin Peaks, like, changed my entire, it didn't change my entire worldview. It changed my brain a little bit, I can't lie. Hiking up Twin Peaks, the hills in San Francisco are just, they're such a unique and amazing feature, and I really loved them. And I think as a geography nerd, I love cities with like unique geographical features. I mean, every city does to an extent. It has them to an extent, but cities that have like really unique features. Like for example, Florence in Italy is notable for being in this sort of like bowl-shaped valley. So when the sun comes up, it goes from like sort of like early dawn-ish twilight to the entire city being bathed in sunlight in just a few minutes, because it comes up over the edge of the hill and suddenly like it's cool. So that's a really unique geographical feature in Florence. And in San Francisco, the hills were an amazing feature, and like you can see so much that you can see the whole city from Twin Peaks, and it's astonishing, as long as it's not foggy. So the hills were really cool. The public transport is great and it's convenient for the most part. San Francisco is maybe the city in the States with the best public transport, and it was, you know, obviously like you got to pay money to go on it, and you got to factor that into your budget, but it was really easy to get. Like the buses were like frequent, and they ran like all the time, and they ran to like everywhere I wanted to go, so it was really, really easy. In the national park, they had like a free shuttle service to like take you around to different viewpoints, which I thought was like super cool. So the public transport was fantastic. Like I could not fault it. And you know, that's coming from someone who's been used to like accessible public transport for my entire life. It is so incredibly beautiful. Okay, it had me really emotional actually about how beautiful it was, like the city and the surrounding landscape and the nature and the wildlife. And I put this in my San Francisco vlogs, so go and check that out, because I rewatch them sometimes and I just get emotional about how gorgeous it was. It was just stunning. Like it was astonishing. I loved the hiking, I loved the public parks. The Golden Gate Park was so beautiful. I didn't even have time to look at it all. Like I want to go back. Like the trees, the plants, the wildlife, it was absolutely fucking stunning. Like I think about it, I think about how beautiful San Francisco was every single day. Like it was, I don't know, I've been to a lot of really beautiful cities, and I'm very lucky to live in a city that is really beautiful, and I appreciate that so much. But there was just something about San Francisco that I just fell in love with. It was, it was so beautiful. I don't know. It just captured my imagination in such a strong and forceful way that I just fell in love with it. It's very sunny. Like, although it was windy every day, I liked how consistent the weather and climate was. So like in the mornings you'll have the fog, and then the fog will blow away, and then it will be sunny all day, and then the evenings the fog will roll back in again. So it's very sunny, and I love that. I as someone who gets like pretty bad seasonal depression, although it varies by year, but usually I have pretty bad seasonal depression when it's like cold and dark. Cold not so much, but dark is really tough for me. I hate it when there's very little daylight. So having like super consistent sunlight year round as well, because their weather is like, and the climate is very consistent year round, I think that would be fantastic for my mental health. Like I'm guaranteed some sunlight every day, and roughly the same amount of sunlight every day. That would, it really like lifted my mood when I was there, because every day was lovely and sunny. The food was pretty great. I did, actually, this was my most popular, at the time of filming, this was my most popular video ever, and I didn't expect it to get as popular as it did, but for some reason everybody was just like piling on this video, and I did. So go and watch my Rating American Food video if you haven't already. I'm assuming that if you found my channel, you probably found it because of that video, so you guys have probably already seen it, but if you haven't, go and watch that video, because the food was pretty great. And I know that like I talk shit about some of the food in that video, but genuinely for the most part I loved the food, okay? I'm kind of a big foodie, and I like to cook and like experiment with new recipes and try out new kind of cuisine. I really enjoyed the seafood. I had like I had seafood at the pier. I developed a minor obsession. Okay, who am I kidding? I developed a full-blown obsession with In-N-Out. In-N-Out was, now I'm not a big burger person, but the In-N-Out burger was genuinely the best burger I've ever had. I went back like three or four times, I'm not gonna lie. I went back to In-N-Out like so many times. And I'm considering going back to San Francisco just so I can have In-N-Out again. It was that good. I can't even lie. I I don't even know what they put in that burger, but it was fucking amazing. I loved key lime pie as well. I need to go to Florida so I can get like more key lime pie and more authentic key lime pie. But even so, the key lime pie I had in San Francisco was just mind-blowing. And I loved the frozen yogurt as well. Frozen yogurt was fantastic. We should do like way more of that in the UK. I know we do it to like an extent, but it was so cool. I loved it. Like the food was great. I mean, not all the food was great, but mostly the food was great, and that was the source of some very happy and positive memories for me. And I would totally, like, I'd have to be very careful to actually eat healthy if I lived there, because I think otherwise I'd just get in and out every day, and that would not be good for me. The people are so nice, okay? I really loved the people of San Francisco. I thought they were wonderful. Everyone was lovely to me. I didn't have any, like, I didn't feel scared at any point whatsoever. I felt completely safe and welcome. And I know that, you know, a lot of people are like, oh, you know, America's scary, America's dangerous. I didn't feel that way. And especially as, you know, a solo female traveller, and again, this is just my experience, so take it with a pinch of salt, but as a solo female traveller, I felt so safe and so welcome, and just everyone was absolutely, without exception, wonderful to me. Like, they were just lovely. Like, I cannot fault San Franciscans on anything from a personality point of view. Like, I'm sure there are bad people, but in general, I did not meet any of them, okay? Like, everyone was lovely to me, and they were so sociable and warm and friendly and welcoming, and I just felt really at home, and I felt like, you know, I could see these people being my friends. I could see these people being my neighbors. I could see, you know, like myself dating these people, you know, like I really felt like it just clicked for me. I don't know. It's very open, and I didn't encounter any bigotry. So I especially love visiting the Castro, which is the LGBTQ plus district. And as a queer woman, especially since I'm like traveling by myself, and especially since I'm thinking about like places to move to, wherever I move to has to be safe for like bisexual people, for queer people, for gay people in general. Politically, I felt very aligned with the city in general, and I felt like I would be welcome to like express my identity, and I would be safe there, and I wouldn't encounter any bigotry. Like, I literally wouldn't. Like, I felt really like accepted, and I felt like there would be a lot of queer culture that I could get engaged with, which was really exciting for me, actually. And I felt really positive and upbeat about that. I also loved the history and architecture. San Francisco is a city with a huge amount of cultural history, and the public libraries were absolutely superb. Now, I'm a huge nerd, and I love a good library, and if I moved somewhere, it would have to have a really good library, and San Francisco Public Library was an amazing library. Like, I spent so much time there. I had such a good time. Like, the books were amazing, the architecture was amazing. It just felt like the city was absolutely packed with history, architecture, and good books to read, and that was so cool. The demographics were super diverse and really awesome. Like, I mentioned earlier about how much I loved the sort of the attitude of the people, but I really loved how multicultural San Francisco was. Like, I got the sense that I would have absolutely no issue dating or making friends, and it just felt like everybody was super nice and really kind of aligned with the kind of people that I want to spend time with. So that was great. I felt like I would fit in really well. And another thing that I really loved was that there are a lot of community initiatives, and people seem to very much support and care for their neighbours. Like, I was seeing like posters all the time of like, oh, we're looking for volunteers to help out, and it would have these like tabs with like phone numbers, and they'd all be taken. Or there were like so many community initiatives and so many like gatherings, and you know, I saw people just like helping their neighbours out, helping each other out, and people were so generous with their time, with their energy, with their knowledge, even to me, and I was a complete stranger, and I saw that people were so lovely to one another, and so community minded, and that just made me feel really optimistic and really positive, and it gave me kind of a lot of hope for humanity, actually. It was lovely to see, and something that I would be excited to kind of jump into that culture, I think, if I was to move there. So, the verdict. I've talked about the downsides, the cons, I've talked about the upsides, like the pros. The verdict. Would I move there? Yes, okay, you might have been able to tell from my attitude and from the fact that my pros list was way longer than like my cons list, and from the fact that I think about San Francisco probably every day. Yes, I absolutely would move there, okay? It lived up to my expectations. It really did. Like, I know I'd been sort of like fantasizing about moving to the city or like living there for a really long time, and I was thinking, you know, maybe when I show up it won't be the way I imagined. It wasn't the way I imagined in some ways, but in other ways it was so much better than I imagined. Like, it was, I know obviously it has its problems, but I would absolutely move there. I would move there in a heartbeat, okay? If the time was right, the circumstances were right, I would move there. Like, I would move there, absolutely. Like, although I discovered some downsides I hadn't anticipated, I also had some super positive surprises. And there is nothing better than a super positive surprise. Like, something good happening that you haven't anticipated is just the best feeling in the entire world. Okay? My impression of San Francisco as a wonderful place to live was absolutely correct. I think if I wanted to move there, I'd do it for a year first, and then if I liked it, I'd move maybe more long term, but I would like to live there definitely for at least a year in the future. I loved San Francisco, guys. I mean, I don't know if this is biased because, I don't know, maybe I just fit in really well there, but it was so beautiful, and I think that just the idea of moving back there makes my heart kind of like, it makes my heart feel so like warm and excited and happy. So I would love to move to San Francisco. I said it. I want to go back there. I think about it all the time. There might be, if you stick around on this channel long enough, then there might be a I moved to San Francisco vlog. This is my life in San Francisco vlog. That is very likely in my future. Okay, thank you guys for watching. If you're not already subscribed, make sure to do that. Give this video a thumbs up. Follow me on Instagram. I'll see you next time. Okay, bye.